Rocky, I had no idea was ever going to have this sort of response.
In 1975, Sylvester Stallone was not a movie star. He was a struggling actor and writer living in a small apartment, facing a level of financial poverty that is almost mythical.
My $40 car had just blown up, so I was taking a bus to work.
At his absolute lowest point, Stallone reportedly had just over $100 in his bank account.
Things were not looking very, very good.
It was during this position of poverty that Stallone was presented with a life-altering choice. With a screenplay he had written in a burst of inspiration, he was offered a sum that would have seemed like a salvation, a figure reported to be as high as $360,000. This was not just a substantial offer, it was a life raft. But Stallone refused the money because the offer came with a condition he couldn't accept.
I'll go ahead and see if we can tangle with the power structure a little bit.
His strong convictions paid off, leading to this million-to-one shot film becoming one of the most successful and iconic movies of its time. To understand the situation Stallone was in, it's important to realize the actor was not just an unknown. He was a liability. Stallone's career had begun at the furthest fringes of the industry. His first ever starring role, in 1970, was in an adult film titled The Party at Kitty and Studs. His attempts in the mainstream were not working out. He secured a series of uncredited background roles in some prominent pictures. His most significant role of note in the early 70s, and the one that brought him to the attention of the producers, was in The Lords of Flatbush. While the film, a story about 1950s Brooklyn teenagers, was an indie success that showcased his writing abilities, with Stallone contributing some additional dialogue, it failed to establish him as a viable leading man. Despite this and other roles in films like Capone and Death Race 2000, Stallone struggled to break through. Producers reportedly told him directly that he looked funny and talked funny. His distinctive facial features, a result of nerve damage from a birth complication, and his slurred speech were the antithesis of the prevailing Robert Redford-style leading man. The professional obscurity translated into profound personal desperation. With income for the entire previous year totaling just $1,400, Stallone was broke.
And my wife is pregnant, and my dog was eating furniture, and it was...
This desperation pushed him to sell his dog, Butkus. Butkus, a large bull mastiff, was Stallone's loyal companion. Stallone described this as one of the hardest moments of his life.
It was either do that or he just was not going to be very well fed around the house.
This experience forged a psychological line in the sand. When the studios later offered him a fortune for his script, they were, in his mind, asking him to do the exact same thing, sell a piece of his soul for cash. The memory of selling his dog is what fueled his resolve never to sell out again, no matter the price.
You have nothing to lose when you have nothing to lose.
The idea for Rocky was not born in a vacuum. It was a direct, visceral reaction to a real-life sporting event that mirrored Stallone's own internal state. On March 24, 1975, Stallone watched the heavyweight championship fight between Muhammad Ali and Chuck Wepner. Wepner was a relatively unknown and heavy underdog. He was a local New Jersey brawler given a million-to-one shot against the greatest fighter on the planet. The fight was expected to be a quick execution. Instead, Wepner displayed tremendous resilience. He absorbed Ali's punishment and, in a moment that stunned the world, scored a knockdown against the champion in the 9th round. Though Ali ultimately won, Wepner battled into the final seconds of the 15th round. Stallone, watching this triumph of the underdog and the human spirit, saw a metaphor for his own life. He channeled this inspiration into a ferocious creative marathon. By his own account, Stallone went home and wrote the initial 90-page draft of the Rocky screenplay by hand in just 3.5 days. The script that emerged was a potent, combustible synthesis. The plot, an unknown fighter getting a miraculous shot at the title and going the distance, was directly inspired by Chuck Wepner. But the heart, the frustrated achievement, and unrealized dreams was entirely Stallone's.
Listen, I want to thank you a lot for inviting me, I appreciate it.
Hey, don't mention it.
Stallone's eventual breakthrough did not come from a place of strength. He did not have an agent sending his script to every major studio. The meeting that changed his life was, by all initial accounts, a failure. Stallone had secured a meeting with producers Irwin Winkler and Robert Chartoff, but it was for an unsuccessful screen test for another role. These were established producers with roughly 25 films to their credit, but they were still searching for a really big box office hit. As a defeated Stallone was walking out of the room, he made a last-ditch walk-away pitch. He let them know he'd just written a script about boxing. The producers, perhaps sensing the same hunger in Stallone that defined their own ambitions, were intrigued and asked to see it.
If they didn't say, come on back, or bring it later and let's see what you've developed, I wouldn't be sitting here.
Winkler and Chardoff were enthusiastic about the script. They recognized its raw power and commercial potential, but their enthusiasm stopped at the author's acting ambitions. They and the financing studio United Artists were adamantly opposed to having an unknown headline the film. The script was seen as a high-concept product, a perfect vehicle to plug into their existing star-driven machine. The studio's wish list for the role of Rocky Balboa was a who's who of Hollywood A-listers: Robert Redford, Burt Reynolds, James Caan, and Ryan O'Neal. In the attempt to get the script and have Stallone forget about the idea of starring in the film, the studio began a campaign of escalating financial temptation. The offers to buy the screenplay and have Stallone walk away reportedly climbed.
First it was 25 grand, then $100,000. I heard it went up to 360,000.
Offered a sum that could solve his financial problems, Stallone did not blink. His stance was absolute and non-negotiable. He told the producers directly, "I can't sell it outright. I wrote it for me, and I have to do it."
If I sell the script and it does very, very well, I'm going to jump off a building. And if I'm not in it, I'm going to be very, very upset.
He knew instinctively that this was his one and only shot. To sell it, even for $360,000, would be the ultimate act of self-betrayal. In the end, the powers that be at United Artists never agreed that Stallone was the right choice. They were instead contractually checkmated by the producers. Winkler and Chardoff had an exclusive producing deal with United Artists. Crucially, this deal had a provision allowing them to make any movie of their choice without studio approval under one condition: the budget had to be kept at or below $1.5 million. When the studio realized the producers were serious about casting Stallone, they tried a clever countermove. They offered to budget the film at $2 million. This wasn't generosity, it was a poison pill. A $2 million budget would have given control back to United Artists to cast a star of its own choosing. But the producers called their bluff. In what was described as a heated meeting with United Artists' head of production, Winkler and Chardoff made a final high-stakes commitment. They agreed to make the picture for just $1 million, and they would personally guarantee its completion. Now they had complete control. The low budget was not a sacrifice, it was a strategic weapon. The terms of the final deal were set, locking all parties into the high-stakes gamble. The final production budget was set at approximately $1 million. For Stallone, this meant trading the guaranteed payday for a union-scale wage. His contract reportedly included approximately $25,000 for the screenplay and a meager actor's wage of $360 per week. The crucial component of the deal was getting 10 net points, a percentage of the film's profits. This was the ultimate gamble. The very first thing he did was not to buy a new car or move to an apartment. He went back to the man who bought Butkus. The new owner, aware of Stallone's new movie deal, reportedly demanded thousands of dollars for the dog. Stallone paid it. He then put Butkus into the movie as Rocky's companion.
Hey, Butkus, come here, kid.
The film was shot in a rapid 28 days. In the end, the film became a cultural phenomenon, grossing a staggering $225 million worldwide. Stallone's 10 net points, a back-end deal that rarely pays out due to Hollywood accounting, became one of the most successful in history, earning him approximately $2.5 million from the first film alone. Rocky became the highest-grossing film of 1976. Stallone's battle to get the film made was the ultimate Rocky story. He wasn't just writing about an underdog who goes the distance. He was living it. He bet on himself, and in winning that bet, he created one of the most enduring legacies in cinema.
And to all the Rockies in the world, I love you.